For anybody who is not in attendance today, can view it later, and I'll be sending it out to everybody who is invited to this meeting as soon as it's available, hopefully this afternoon. So before I get started, I was hoping to take just a real quick roll call to see which counties we have on the line for this training. So first of all, do we have Clatsop County?
Here, yes.
All right. Hello. Do we have Columbia County? And I know we have Kirk County on the line. Hi, Julie and Ashley.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
And do we have anybody from the DEQ Coos Bay office? What about the DEQ Medford office? I think I saw a couple of people.
This is Marty. I'm here.
Hi there, Marty. I think I
Sienna.
Sienna.
I'm
okay.
here.
Great, thank you. And then the
This is Terry. I'm here.
Hi, Terry. And then the DEQ Pendleton office.
Hi, this is Connie. I'm here.
Hi, Connie. And do we have Douglas County? How about Grant County? Harney County? Jefferson County?
Yeah, this is Kelly. I'm here.
Hi, Kelly. And then Klamath County told me they weren't able to attend. Lincoln County?
We're here.
Hi, Lincoln. Polk County? And Tillamook County? And finally, Wheeler County. Okay. All right, perfect. Thank you for bearing with me to get through that roll call. And excuse me, this is a little bit of a longer training. We have it scheduled for an hour and a half, but you know, maybe we can make it a little bit shorter. We'll see how it goes. And if anybody does need a break at any point during the training, just stop me and let me know, and I'm happy to take a quick break if we need that as a group. And then also, if you could please keep your microphones muted unless you have a question, that would be great. That'd cut down on some background noise. But if you do have any questions, just feel free to stop me, and then I'm happy to answer any questions that come up along the way. So, excuse me. So like I said, my name is Heidi, and I think I know most everybody out there. Been working with the e-permitting team for a little over 10 years now, and have been working on this new project to manage the annual inspection reports. So this is a quick agenda for our training today. We'll go over the annual service systems, have an introduction to the project, talk about the project deliverables, talk about record type relationship, and then actually jump into the Excel software and show you how to create master records, how to manage those, how to connect them to reference APO and assign a maintenance provider for the purposes of letters. We'll talk about how you can use this new feature to manage operation and maintenance contracts. We'll look at some reports and filters, and we'll look at a due date for everybody. So we'll be going over quite a bit here. And just as a reminder, this is a larger project with multiple deliverables. The first deliverable is just this new master record type. So that's what this training will be specifically over, just going over how to manage those new master records. And there's lots of upcoming training as we progress in this project, how to send letters out to your property owners, how those inspection reports will be submitted, that sort of thing, but that will come in future trainings. We won't go over any of that today. And so I'm sure all of you know about this, but just a little slide to show annual service systems. So those systems are fall into these categories here: ATT, bottomless sand filter, holding tank, pressure distribution, recirculating gravel filter, and sand filter. And with these annual service systems, DEQ requires that there be an operation and maintenance contract on file with a maintenance provider. And DEQ also requires that there be an annual inspection report submitted for the life of these systems. And just an introduction to this project. So most of you have already seen a quick demo that we had a few weeks back, kind of showing what we were proposing for this project, but let's go in a little bit more deeper on what this is about. So what we're trying to do is build something in Excella for the on-site module that will create a new method for tracking those annual service systems, those systems installed that require that annual inspection report. And we've heard from multiple counties and DEQ that it's kind of across the board on how counties are currently tracking these systems. We've found that there's some spreadsheets that are maintained. Some counties are using the Excella inquiry record. So it's kind of a mishmash of how these are being tracked currently. But what we're trying to do with this project is have one consistent way of tracking these in Excella using two new record types. And there will be a back office component, and there will also be an online component where homeowners and maintenance providers can submit those inspection reports and pay their fees online. And that's the same online website as what property owners and maintenance providers can pull their permits. It's our Citizen Access product. And with this project, there will be lots of familiar functionality that you're used to seeing. If your county or office sends expiration letters, we'll be creating something similar for these annual service systems. There's alerts when things come in online, there's related records, and there's set payments. So those things all should be familiar. But what is new is something called it's a renew button. And you'll see how that works in future trainings. But there is some new functionality. And with this project, it's been a partnership between the e-permitting program and DEQ. The Medford office, Marty Easter, has just been our subject matter expert and kind of championing this project along the way, and has been great to work with. So we've been partnering together to build this feature that you're going to see. And just as we mentioned in our demo earlier, we are doing some data conversions for the master records only. And we had to kind of come up with a cutoff because we have 15 counties that are participating. And it does take quite a bit of time for our staff to do a data conversion. And so we made a cutoff of if you have over 100 systems you're tracking in your county, then we'll do the data conversion. But if not, then those counties have to hand enter the master records. So for the counties who are hand entering master records, this training will be very, very helpful for you, I think. All right, so looking at the project deliverables, there's this first one, we have it broken into phases. Phase 1 is for back office, phase 2 is for citizen access or the online portion. But within phase 1, there's a handful of deliverables, and the first one is managing master records. And that's what we're going over today. There's a couple of dates that I wanted to bring to your attention here. So the master record type, it became available for the DEQ Medford office only just this past Monday, a few days ago. This new record type will be available for everybody else who's in attendance today, starting next Monday on July 27th. So when you get into the office on Monday, you can start creating those master records, and I'll show you how you can do that in today's training. And for those counties with less than 100 systems who are hand entering, you'll have between actually Monday the 27th through November to hand enter those records. And we'll be doing data conversions in that same time period for the rest of the counties. The second deliverable is in October. We'll have letters available for you to send to your property owners. And my understanding is you probably won't send out those letters until a month or two later, but they will be available in October. And then there will be letters sent to the maintenance providers, traditionally done by the DEQ office. The DEQ Medford office will continue to send those, but through Excella, that'll be available in October. And of course, there will be future training on how all of this works together. The third deliverable is a new record type, the second record type. It's called a renewal record, and that's what will be used to submit the annual inspection report. And that will be available in the back office in November. Probably won't be used until you start getting your annual inspections reports rolling in, but will be available in November. And again, training will be provided for that. Finally, the last deliverable, this is for phase 2 citizen access. And this is where that renewal record will be available online for maintenance providers and property owners to submit their inspection report and pay their fee. That will be available in December. And we've talked about training being available for not only the counties, but also for some maintenance providers, so they're aware on how they can submit those reports. Okay, so let's jump into the record types. So as I've mentioned, there will be 2 new record types available with this project. The first one being the master record, which we're going over today. But this is just a little diagram to give you a visual on how the relationship will work if you are familiar with related records in Excella. So in the ideal world, this is what it will look like, but it doesn't have to be this way. So what I mean by that is, in the ideal world, you'll have your installation permit. And then once that is complete, you will have this master record that's created. And again, it's only for those systems that fall into, that are those annual service systems. And this will become a child of the installation permit. There are some exceptions to this. If you, let's say you are new to e-permitting and there are the installation permits that are quite old and that didn't get converted into Excella, then in that case, you wouldn't have your installation permit. You would just start off with your master record, and that's fine. That's okay. And this master record, this is it's an ongoing record. It's going to stay active for the life of the system until that annual service system becomes decommissioned or is no longer in use. The master record, it's where you can find the APO, address parcel owner. It's where you can find the current maintenance provider, has some information about the system. And this is also where you'll track those O&M contract dates. It also has the expiration date, and it shows the status of the system, whether it's active or decommissioned or in renewal. And this is where you will send the letters to remind property owners that their annual inspection report is due. And another important feature about this record, it's only created in the back office. It's only created by county staff. Public users, citizens, maintenance providers, they cannot create master records. It's only done in the back office. And then the second record type here that is new is called the renewal record type, and it becomes a child of the master. And there's going to be a new renewal record for every year. What the renewal record type is used for is it's where you can log the annual inspection report information, like those yes/no questions. And we've also created some fields where if, let's say that a system is failing, you can mark when that has been resolved on this renewal record. This is also where the renewal fees are assessed and paid for. So you never have fees on this master record. It's only down here on this renewal record. And something also pretty cool about this record is that if there are any changes that need to be made to this master record, let's say that there's a new maintenance provider or a new owner, then that can be recorded during the at the time when the annual inspection report is submitted. And once it's recorded here on the renewal, then it also gets pushed up and copied to this master record, so that this master record always has the current information. But this renewal record is kind of used as, it's a vehicle to move that new information to the master. And this new renewal record, it can be created in the back office. So if you have a customer who comes in to your counter and they want to submit their annual inspection report, or they mail it in, fax it in, however you receive those, it can be created in the back office, and it can also be created online. And just as a reminder, this renewal record, my understanding from Marty at DEQ is that there will probably be quite a bit of questions and more interest in how this works. But we won't get to this for a couple of months. So for today, we're just focusing on the master record. Okay, I'm going to jump into Excella and give you some training. Before I do that, does anybody have any questions about what we just went over? All right, so here we are in Excella, and I'm in the staging environment in DEQ Medford. And there are 3 different ways to create your master record. And the first way actually will be an automatic way. And so let me go ahead and try to find a record I've set up here. So you can see this record, it's an on-site permit, and it was for installing a new holding tank. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up this permit. And so starting on Monday, this functionality will be available for all counties who are participating with this new feature. So in workflow, let's take a look here. You can see that the certificate of satisfactory completion is ready to be issued. So I'm going to go ahead and issue it. And since this is a holding tank that's being installed, the system type is holding tank. So I'm going to go ahead and issue the CFSC. And as soon as I do that, a new master record will be created automatically. So I get a couple of pop-ups here like normal. I'm going to close out that report pop-up window. But you can see I also get this second pop-up screen, and it's just a reminder here that says a master record was created to track the annual inspection reports for the system. So automatically in the background from workflow, that master record was created. So you no longer have to remember, oh, I need to go log this in my spreadsheet so that I can keep track. It's already created within the Excellus system. And so if I go to related records, you remember our relationship diagram. We start off with that permit, and now there is a new master record that was created. I'm going to go ahead and click on it just so you can see the record number, similar to other related records that are created. So this number, it took on the same record number as that permit, but it has the extension of SRVC. SRVC will be the extension for all master records. Does anybody have any questions about those being created automatically through workflow? Okay. And before I move on, I also wanted to show you one additional feature here. Let me go ahead and search for another permit. Bear with me. Okay, so I'm back on a different permit. And again, the certificate of satisfactory completion is ready to be issued. So I'm going to go ahead and issue that. Well, just like most demos, something has to go wrong. so it was supposed to create another pop-up here. So what I was trying to show you is that if there is already a master record for this specific parcel, then it's going to give you an additional pop-up. It'll tell you that there's already an existing master record, a second one was created, and that you should verify the new master record. So we built that in because there are sometimes maybe rare occurrences where you could have a large parcel and you have a home that has an annual service system installed on it, that master record is created, but then you have an ADU that is that's constructed that also has an annual service system installed. And so you may have multiple annual service systems at the same parcel. And in that case, it is correct to have multiple systems at the same parcel. But other times, maybe it was a mistake. Maybe there was just a repair that was made to the annual service system. And so there's an additional pop-up that gives you a warning to check out that master record. So apologies for the clunky demo there. Something didn't go quite right. So let me go ahead and refresh my screen here. Okay, so like I said, there's 3 ways that master records can be created. The first one is automatically through workflow. The second way is by cloning. And so let me go ahead and do a search for my permit to be cloned. So for those counties who are hand entering your master records, you can go and hunt down the install permit and clone it to make your master record. One small caveat with that is that having reference APO associated to your master record will be really important. And I'll go over that in a little bit in this training. And so when you're cloning, I would say to only clone from permits that were created in Excella. So if you have install permits that were converted from your previous system, then I would not clone from those because they're most likely not connected to reference APO. So when cloning, only clone from those install permits that were created in Excella. And so I found one here. So I'm going to go ahead and clone. I think most everybody knows how to do that, but I'll just demonstrate here. I'll go to related records. And I'm just going to select the permit here and choose clone molt. I'm going to drill down to the annual service master record. Just want to create one of those, so I'm just going to hit submit here. And for your selections, you want to choose custom fields, address parcel owner, licensed professionals, and contacts. So now you can see that when I cloned, here's my service record, master record, and it took on the same numbering as the permit, just with the SRVC as the extension. So that's the second way to create master records. And now the third way is just by using the old-fashioned new button. So I'm going to start a new annual service master record. And most likely the counties that are hand entering their master records will be using this new button to create their records. The counties that have a data conversion probably won't be using this method. And so, of course, the address is required. So I'll select the address, parcel, and owner. And also the licensed professional is required. And so the professional on the master record should be that maintenance provider that is currently overseeing the system. And the primary contact is required. In this case, I'm going to choose the licensed professional. And then we get into the custom fields. So you want to make sure to mark what kind of system type this is. If I choose an ATT, then I have to enter a description here. If I choose other, then I also have to enter a description. I'm just going to choose sand filter. And there's a couple of other data entry fields you can fill in. They're optional if you know the system model, system serial number if you want to track that. And the county field, this is only available for the DEQ offices since they manage multiple counties. And the installation permit number, you can enter this if you know it and want to track that. In this case, you would only be creating the system using the new button if you don't have the install permit in Excella. So this would probably likely be the permit number from your old system. System activation date, this is automatically filled in with today's date, but you can also change that. And then we also have the contract start and end dates. These are the date fields to track the O&M contracts. And the expiration date. This is automatically filled in with the end of the year for the current year, so December 31st of 2020. If for any reason this new master record should not submit their inspection report at the end of this year, then you can always change this. If they are good for this year, they can change it, and you can change it for next year. So you'll kind of want to be aware of this date. Most likely it'll be due by the end of this year, but if they've already turned one in by the time this year rolls around, then you can change it to 2021. And if there's any documents you want to attach for this master record, you can do that here. Otherwise, you can just go ahead and hit submit. And this new funny window pops up. Normally you would have your pending inspection window appear here, but there's no inspections, Excella inspections that are recorded on this record type. So, so you get this funny window. You can just go ahead and hit the X and close it out. So those are the 3 different ways to create master records. Does anybody have any questions on that? And we do have documentation that I can send to you as soon as this training is over, and it describes each of those 3 different methods for creating your master records. I'm going to search for a master record that's been created through a data conversion. And like I started to say earlier, is that it's going to be really important that your master records are connected to reference APO. And the reason for that is because it makes it a whole lot easier to make sure that you have the current owner on record. And so these master records are a little bit different than probably most records that you have in Excella, and that's because they stay active for the life of the system. Most records stay active for the life of the permit, but this is the life of the system that's installed. So you want to make sure that you always have the current owner for the property and also the current maintenance provider. But attaching your master records to reference APO will help keep that owner current. And so there are a handful of scenarios when your master records won't be connected to reference APO, and you will need to correct those. Some of those scenarios are when our team is doing a data conversion, like for DEQ Medford, for example, we did a data conversion by looking at the install permits that were in Excella and then use the APO from those install permits and attach that to the master record. But some of those install permits that we converted from, those were converted into Excella and they weren't connected to reference APO. And so now that just kind of gets propagated down to the master record. It's also not connected to reference APO. And that could cause some issues just trying to keep that current owner maintained on the master record. So I'm going to show you how you can correct that. And I did a little time test, and it takes about a minute to a minute and a half to correct each record. The first step is that there is going to be a new on-site report for you. And this report, it's an audit report, and it will show you all of those master records that are missing reference APO. So I'm just going to drill down to on-site, and then it's called this on-site annual service system audit. Unfortunately, I'm in the staging environment and we're having issues with reports, and so I'm not able to generate it here, but I did generate it on my computer. And you can see that this is for DEQ Medford. This report has two sections. The first one shows permits that are missing their annual service master record. You can ignore that for now. But the second section, master records missing reference parcel. So there's actually 21 pages here. So DEQ Medford, I apologize, but there's a little bit of work ahead of you here. I think there's close to 200 records. But this gives you a nice list to go off of. So you can use that list to then search for your record in Excella. And this is one of those records here. Excuse me. So again, it's correcting the annual service master record. That's the one we care about. So I'm just going to click into it. And the easiest way is to start from the address. So this is the address currently. It's not a reference address. And if you have questions about what reference means, I'm going to keep using that term a lot. But if you do have further questions about that, feel free to email me or call me and we can talk about that just one-on-one and go over that. But the first step is to click into this existing address, and you're going to change the primary to no. And now I'm going to go ahead and look up, and I already forgot what I'm looking up, 311 Whispering Pines. I'm going to go ahead and look up that address against the reference addresses. Going to select that. And this is also really important. I want to select all so that I can bring in the reference parcel and that existing reference owner. The most important part here. Going to select that. And now I'm going to delete the address that was not referenced. It was transactional. And so you can usually, a little tip, you can tell which one you need to delete by looking at the one that does not say get parcel. So this is the one to delete. I'm going to check that, hit delete. So now our address is taken care of. Now I'm just going to go down to the owner and remove that owner. And same for the parcel. So now that record is finished. Excuse me. So are there any questions on that, on connecting master records to reference APO?
This is to be done after, or if you get a conversion, run this audit after that conversion, and then start going through those numbers. Right?
Yes, that's correct. Is that Marty? I had a little bit of hard time hearing you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so this is done after all of the, if you're going to have a conversion, like DCBS is going to do a conversion for you because you have more than 100 records. all of those converted records, once they're converted, you go in and you do run this audit report, and then that's the list that you will use to go through this last process you just did.
Yes, exactly. That's the exact process.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Those are the steps that you would take. And even if your county does not have a conversion, if you're just hand entering everything, it would be a good idea to go through that audit report and just make sure that everything is connected to reference. Make sure you don't have any outliers. But this audit report is a nice tool that you can use just to make sure that everything is has been created correctly and that everything is connected to reference APO, so that all your master records are nice and tidied up and ready for sending out the letters to owners and maintenance providers. Okay. So then the next thing that I wanted to talk about is reference APO is important, but so is the maintenance provider. It's really important that the current maintenance provider be on the master record. And so if we still use this same converted record as an example in DEQ Medford, let's look at the professional. So this professional was converted and copied from the install permit. And so I have no idea in this case, but you would just want to verify that this current professional is the one who is maintaining the installed system. So you'd want to verify that, and then you'd also want to, if you need to update it, you can go ahead and just do your typical lookup to find the accurate maintenance provider. Select that. And then you can remove the one that is not correct. And it, of course, wants me to change this to the primary. Go ahead and do that. Okay, there we go. So now this record has the reference APO updated, and it also has the current maintenance provider. And that will be important for the time when we send letters. Like I mentioned earlier, DEQ Medford office will be sending letters to all the maintenance providers, just like they traditionally do. But this time, since these master records are in Excella, the maintenance provider will have a nice list of all of the systems that the Excella database says they have on file. So updating the professional here will make sure that they have a nice, accurate list. Okay, so then next I wanted to show you how you can manage your master records. So I'm just going to select, I think I created this one today. I'm just going to select this new master record that was created through workflow from the install permit. So let's first take a look at the workflow. You can see that it's a really simple workflow, a little tiny. It only has 2 tasks, system status and then closeout. As soon as the master record is created, it becomes active. So the first status in the workflow is active. But let's take a look at some of the other options here. So the bottom 3 statuses, these will tell the system that this master record is no longer active. So if you get word that the system is decommissioned, it's no longer in use, then you can use this status. That will then close up this master record. And then this master record will fall off of the list of all active systems that have to have an inspection report submitted. And the same is true for void and withdrawn. And these void and withdrawn statuses work just like any other record type in Excella. If I select void, then it's going to ask me to complete the void information down below. And the same is true with withdrawn. It's hard to say. And then we get into any of these statuses that begin with renewal. So when we get to the renewal period, or the period when property owners and maintenance providers need to submit their inspection reports, the renewal record type will begin to be created, and these statuses will automatically update this master record. So anything beginning with renewal, those are automatic, and you should never have to select those manually here in workflow. That'll happen automatic. And then we also have additional info needed, and this works just like it does for all the other record types. It provides a way for you to communicate with your customers, so you can add your comments here. And there's also all of the email selections down below. You can also mark additional info received. And lastly, we have this enforcement option. So this was built in for the case of, let's say that this master record, you tried to get your annual inspection report submitted. They didn't turn it in on time. You sent them another warning. They still didn't turn it in. You can't get a hold of anybody. And then you might then pass it over to your enforcement department. That's when you would mark the master record with this status. Are there any questions about the statuses and workflow for this record type?
Heidi, this is Vanessa from Lincoln County.
Hi there.
My question is, so as soon as you do renewal complete, will it immediately close? I'm sorry if I missed that. Would it immediately close that permit out, or that permit out?
So this, when renewal complete is selected, this is an automatic status. Would get generated from the renewal record. And so when you have your renewal record, which is the inspection report, and the fees are paid, we'll automatically close out that renewal record and then mark the master record as renewal complete.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes. And so then if they didn't send it in, you can just pull a report to see which ones, and then you can go and send out those letters. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, there will be lots of tools, mostly record list filters, where you can see which inspection reports haven't been submitted, and you can kind of stay on top of those and send out your second warning letter.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anything else? And so throughout the year, it sounds like it might be kind of hit or miss whether you find out throughout the year, if anything's changed on for these systems. But then you can just, if you get word from, let's say, the maintenance provider that they're no longer managing the system, then you would just go into your professionals and you would make sure that the new one is corrected and that sort of thing. But other than that, other than changing of the maintenance provider and changing of owners, maybe some status stuff, these records, they kind of just sit there, and they're just ready, and they're available when the renewal period or that annual inspection report period comes around. Next, I wanted to talk about managing the maintenance contracts. So let's go ahead and go back into this same record. And I showed you a little bit about this earlier, but under this tab called On-Site Annual Service Master, there's two fields here where you can track the maintenance contract. So you can just go ahead and fill in those fields. Save that information. That's all pretty straight. Oops. That's all pretty straightforward here. But also if I go back to the record list under My Filters, there's a couple of filters that you can use to help track those. And so we can take a look. There's one called Annual Service Contracts Expiring in 30 Days. So if you're a county that kind of really diligently manages those contracts and you reach out to the property owner if they have one expiring, that sort of thing, you can use this filter. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And you can see that a handful of records came up that fell within that 30 days. And so at this point, we didn't provide a way for you to send letters through Excella to notify the property owners, but you can just use the built-in CSV export and then create your mail merge and send the letters externally outside of Excella. But we did want to build in some sort of tool for you to manage those that are expiring soon. Additionally, there is another filter called missing contract dates. And so if you want to be really diligent in managing those contract dates, you can select this filter and you can see all the records that actually don't have any contract dates. Either the start or end date is blank. And you can see that there's a handful of pages here. Any questions on those contract dates? There's another important filter that I wanted to bring to your attention, and that is we have the Annual Service Master active. So if you select that, that'll show you, it's a list of all those active master records. So anything that's been decommissioned, void, withdrawn, they fall off of this list. These are only active ones. And like I mentioned with Vanessa's question, there will be additional filters here that we'll build in once we get to that renewal record where you can see the master records that haven't gotten their inspection report submitted yet. And also, it's really important that the system type be managed as well. And so there's a filter that's built in here, missing system type. So if I select that, you can see there's just a couple of test records that are missing that system type. Let me go and select one of these so you can see what I mean. And again, it's on this On-Site Annual Service Master tab, and it's the system type here. We created that filter because, like I said, it is really important that the system type be accurate, at least have a system type here. And that's because the fee, the renewal fee, is based off of the system type. So in DEQ's instance, the holding tank will generate a different fee versus all the other system types here. So in the order of events, Marty asked about when to generate that audit report. This goes along with that. After all of your records are either converted by the e-permitting team or you've hand entered all of your master records, you would also want to not only run that audit report, but you would also want to take a look at these handful of filters just to make sure that you have all the data entered that should be there, especially the system type. You want to make sure that all those master records have a system type. And then lastly, I wanted to show you, let's take a look at that report I brought up earlier. Unfortunately, I can't run it in staging, but this is just in my reporting tool. So this report, the on-site annual service system audit, this will be helpful for those counties that are hand entering the systems. This first section here, it would list all of the master records. I'm sorry, it would list all the permits that are missing their annual service master record. And so you might want to just start off your process of creating your master records by running this report and see which permits qualify for the master record. And then the second section is those master records missing the reference parcel, which we went over already. I really hope you guys can't hear my stomach growling. It just went on and on. Let's see. So that's all the information I had to show you in Excella. Are there any questions? Anything that I've gone over?
Hi, this is Sienna. I have a question.
Sure.
So when you are connecting the master records to APO,
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to update any related records as well?
It actually doesn't. It just updates the record. It wouldn't, for example, update the installation permit. You would have to do that one separately.
Okay. And then, so is that, when it's connected to APO, is that going to grab information and update automatically? Or will we have to like reconnect it to it every year to gather the most accurate information? Like about with the owner and the if that's changed.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there's a couple of tools that will be available to make sure that you have the current owner. But I guess to answer your question first, it won't happen automatically, but there are some tools to help you make sure that the owner is accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not an automatic way of doing that. But there's a couple of tools. So just at the beginning of the renewal period, right before you send out your letters to the property owners, the Excella system will send you a list of all of the master records where the owner is mismatched from reference. And so you can go off of that list, and then you can make sure that just before you send your letters, you have all of your owners current. And then there's also a tool when you're going through the renewal period and somebody submits their inspection report, then at that time, you would also have the opportunity there's a little button in Excella to sync the owner with what's currently in reference. At that point, it might be a little too late because you've already sent out your letters, but maybe you'll catch a few owners that have been changed. So, and we'll definitely.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
So did you just say that when the professional puts in like their information, when they're like, paying and submitting, you can sync it up to whatever they've put in?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. That would be good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's a great question. We'll definitely go over that process once we have it built out a little more coming this fall.
Okay.
This is Deb Mylander with DEQ, and I have a related follow-up question. So when the maintenance provider or some member of the public is making a change to the child record, you said that carries up to the master record, is what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
But Is there a process to fact check that, or does it overwrite? Does it overwrite, or is it just sort of an update, just in case the information, we need the old information, or it turns out the new information is not accurate, etc.?
That's a good question. It would, and of course this hasn't been built out fully, but it would, so the maintenance provider submits online, they put in the owner, then it would then automatically, as soon as they pay, update that master record with what they've entered. But there would be a history of what the owner was before that you could go back to. So if it wasn't accurate, and we haven't really talked through this a whole lot yet since this is in phase 2, but we could require that the maintenance provider, you know, they don't just willy-nilly say, oh, it's Bob Smith who's the owner. They might have to, an option how we could build it is that they would have to just look at who's the owner in reference, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it just was something to think about to make sure we don't corrupt with bad data.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, we can make sure that we really dig into that with Marty when we start looking at the online piece.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, that's probably not only a concern for DEQ, but also the rest of the counties. They want to make sure the data is accurate as possible.
Hey, this is Marty with DEQ. Can I put a final plug in there real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
I would say end of June. Usually, in my experience, we are behind the gun on most things, and changing processes happens in like November, December, rather than mid-summer. So we've got some time to figure out if there is any bugs or things that we haven't played with, or something that slipped through that isn't working. So I would say as soon as able for your counties to get in there and start making your master records. I know it's summer and I know it's a busy season, but even if you can just do a couple and get familiar with these and go through this master record process. That's really the important piece now, is setting up these master records. So when we get to the renewal process, which will be a couple months from now, you're very familiar with the master records, how they look, how they work, how they function, and then we can build on that going forward. You don't have to, but I would strongly suggest getting there, playing with it, looking at it, and coming with if you have any questions going forward. Oftentimes, you know, me and DCBS have been looking at it and we've been building it and are sometimes too close to it to see some of the problems. So please let us know if you come across something or have questions. Please get in there and play with that thing. So I'll get off my soapbox now.
Yeah, thank you, Marty. That's excellent advice. You know, the more eyes we have on it, and you know, it is a little bit challenging that we're trying to build something that can apply and work for 15 different counties across the state of Oregon, plus a state agency. So, you know, it'd be nice to see the perspective and hear the perspective of all the counties. And you'll only get to that point to have a perspective by playing with the master records and getting more familiar with those. And with that being said, it would probably be a good idea for me to install the master record in the staging environment, so that all the counties online can play with the master records without fear of messing something up in production. So I will commit to doing that as well. I'll try to get that done early next week to have master records not only in production on the 27th, but then in staging as well. So there's kind of a sandbox to become more familiar with those. All right, well, so the last thing is that we do have a due date. And so the master records will be in production available for you in those 3 different methods I described starting on Monday. And so you'll have from July 27th through November 20th is the due date to make sure that all your master records are created. They're connected to reference APO. The maintenance provider is accurate, so that the system is as accurate as possible for sending out those letters to the property owners and maintenance providers. So hopefully this doesn't feel too daunting. That's 4 months. Little less than 4 months to create your master records and make sure they're nice and tidy and squared up for the renewal period. And if you do have any questions about that, if you feel like that's not possible, you're having troubles with that, please reach out to me or Marty, and we can kind of talk about that. But hopefully this is a very manageable due date for getting those master records created. And that's all the information I had for you. I will be sending out this recording with the training, a couple of training documents, one on how to create the master records and manage those, also how to connect to APO. And hopefully I'll have that out to everybody by the end of this afternoon. So with that, are there any questions, anything outstanding that you'd like to talk about? All right, well, this is not your only opportunity to ask questions. Feel free to send any emails or give me a call, like I said, if anything does come up that you'd like to discuss, or you have questions on how to do something. I'm happy to answer questions. And with that, like I said, I'll send out an email at the end of this afternoon, and I'll also send out a reminder on Monday letting you know when those master records, the new record type, is available in production. Marty,
Thanks so much.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying thanks for the presentation. It was helpful.
Okay. Good. I'm so glad. Marty, do you have any closing statements?
No, I will turn in my time so you can go get something to eat.
Okay. All right. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I'm glad we didn't go quite as long as we thought. And I hope everybody has a great afternoon and a wonderful weekend.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.